Hello car lovers, driving the 2016 Honda Accord Sedan. This is the Touring V6. I'm with Vyasin. Some of you may remember he had done an ownership review of his Mazda 3. I really enjoy that when people I know come on the show to give their experience. I feel it gives a real world experience of how the thought process of people who shop for cars. And Vyasin, I've known him for a long time. I know he's a sharp cookie, so I know we will be getting good information. I just want to make a few comments on his car before we get going. I drove it before. It runs very well. This is a car that was bought used. It has almost 70,000 kilometers. It has the V6. It has the automatic transmission. And driving around, it drove very smooth. When I was stopped at a red light, I put my hand on the transmission. There was no shaking. The engine seems in good shape. This feels like basically a well-maintained car. For those of you shopping Honda Accords, what's it like driving an Accord? Well, you probably may have had a Civic before. It's just when you drive Honda products, it's just more Honda, right? So when you have a Civic, they tend to run smoothly. They have nice, efficient engines. Well, that's what you have when you buy the sedan version. You have more room, you have better insulation, and you have engines that have more torque. And what's it like when you buy the V6 versus the inline 4? Well, you just have more smoothness, more torque, right? Vyasin's showing it to me. So there's very good pickup, and that's one of the reasons why people buy this vehicle. It's even better than the 4-cylinder. The 4-cylinder is very smooth, but this is even better. Over the long term, why do people buy Honda Accords? Well, Honda Accord sedans are what I call a staple. I find back in those years, in 2016, it was the old Camry. So I really thought the Honda, in terms of like the staple midsize, was the best car. There's lots of comfort. The sound insulation is very good. It drives very well. It's very easy to drive. Comfortable seats, lots of space in back, all the attributes you would expect from a reliable midsize sedan. On that note, I'm just going to interview Vyasin while he's driving. He feels comfortable doing that, as to like what he had before, what his priorities were, his buying process basically, and what are his thoughts now that he's had the car for some time. So I'm going to start right away. Vyasin, what did you have before?
Thanks, Chris. So before, I had a 2011 Acura TL, which was the 3.7 liter all-wheel drive. Actually, it was a car that my brother had lent to me for years, so he had asked for it back. He loves that car. It was a great car. It was a beast. Lots of power, very comfortable. You know, it really drives like a tank. But when I gave it back to him, then it meant I had to start looking for a new one.
Okay.
So at that point, you know, I think I really enjoyed having a car that really had a good, solid, powerful engine. You know, obviously the big factors as usual, as we discussed last time, the Mazda one that came up again, reliability record. I like cars with a good design. Okay. And the same thing with here. I mean, when you look at the 9th generation Accord, I feel like they've really done a really nice job with the design language, such that it's going to age very well.
It's classy.
It's a classy.
Nice wheels.
Yes, the wheels are, I think they're the best in the business in terms of just the wheel design and how it looks. Nothing too flashy. They just got the balance in terms of edginess, but also aging well over time, just right. So, and then going further, you know, Honda reliability, the resale value is well known and reputed. So these were the main factors that I was looking for when I was shopping for a car. And of course, I wanted something in my own budget. So for that reason, I was specifically looking for something used, and I knew that the Accord would be one of those cars that if you buy used, you can go to sleep at night knowing that it's not going to have any issues as long as you do the required maintenance.
So what other cars were you looking at, Vyasin? Were you looking at any others, or was this your first choice?
This was the leading candidate. Other cars I was looking at was actually the Acura TLX, sort of the successor, if you will, of the TL. Yep. Also as Mazdas as well, the Mazda 6. So basically in that category. The Subaru WRX, you know, I always had a soft spot for that car. You know, I was looking at those cars even like 2, 3, 4 years old, and they hold a resale value.
Yes, they do hold a resale value
incredibly well. And the problem is just trying to find WRXs that are not overused and not modded and in good shape.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a cracker jack. So those are some of the leading candidates that I was looking at. I wasn't really considering an SUV. I know that some people were asking me, you know, maybe think about that, even though they're becoming popular. You know, I just like the feeling of sitting in a car and feeling a little bit lower and more connected to the road. You know, driving dynamics are still very important to me. As I found out in the Mazda 3 when I drove that, it's an incredible handling car, and that was one of the reasons that also led me to the Accord as well.
Interesting. So Vyasan, we talked a bit about the exterior that you liked. Is there anything about the interior, some highlights or some things that disappointed you, or what are your general thoughts now that you've had it for a while?
I think the interior is very good. You know, I like the setup of the dash. It's easy to follow. Very simple.
Yeah,
huge, yeah. You know, the buttons here, very well laid out, I would say, overall. The seat, relatively comfortable. I've never had any issues with that. The middle layout is good. I like the fact that there's a nice wireless charger and it works decently well. Same thing here, the buttons are well laid out. So honestly, the interior is great. I love the backseat space, which is quite roomy. So you can easily haul 2-3 people in the back. There's definitely no problems with that. You know, lots of trunk space. So, you know, overall the interior, I think it's very good. You know, it could be better, but I think for the money that and for the value that you get for this car, it's a pretty good interior. In terms of negatives, you know, I feel like there's a lot of plastic, probably more than there should be. You know, when you feel it against the doors here, you know, I would expect that more from a Hyundai, not a Honda. You know, and the same thing here. I don't know if like the wood trim is necessarily something that I'm a fan of, but you know, it's a bit tacky, and it's kind of, I guess, personal taste. You know, it's one thing if you're buying the base trim of the Accord and it's set up that way, but remember, this is the top trim of the Accord, the V6 top of the line, back in 2016, 36,500 plus tax. In terms of other things, really the other sort of downside of the car is really the infotainment system. It's not very well designed, and in fact, I would say that it's so poorly designed that it can actually be quite a distraction on the road. You know, there's no knobs, and you know, much complaints were made about this from the Hondas in these years, and then they eventually added a knob. It's not user-friendly. It takes a lot of touching of the screen in order to get to the function that you want.
Something that I'm noticing about this interior is it's very quiet.
It is,
and that's a high-level driving experience. Not all its rivals were this quiet in 2016.
No, you're right.
Another thing I'm noticing is that you have all the driving aids.
I have all the driving aids.
So that's nice. In 2016, that was not on all cars. It was relatively novel.
It is, you're right. And I was going to bring that up, which is, you know, in 2016, this technology was really much more something you'd find in the premium brands and not in the mainline brands.
It's nice that.
Right now, I've got the lane assist keeping me in the lane, so I'm not driving off the road. These are really incredible technologies to have had back in, you know, 2015, 2016 in a mainline brand car. So kudos to them including that. It's
a good purchase on your part, because often when people buy used cars, they're missing Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and they're also missing the driver technologies.
Yes, and it has it in here. I do have Apple Android Auto and CarPlay.
So this is really, you're buying a used car, but you're not getting a technology penalty.
No.
You know, so that's kind of nice.
And that's good, as like you know, as you hold this car for a longer amount of time, the technology is not significantly outdated that, you know, it becomes an issue.
Where you're becoming like restless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Would you have any suggestions for somebody buying a similar car? Or would you say, listen, no, I bought the sedan and finally there was something that happened and I should have bought an SUV here. Can you give us some general thoughts on that?
You know, I think the general trend is very clear now, is that, you know, SUVs are very much the hot item.
They are. They are more expensive, though.
They are a bit more expensive, you know, that's for sure, and they do provide a bit more practicality, but, you know, the trunk space is quite a lot. You got a significant amount of space in the back. The handling of the car will definitely be better than its SUV counterpart any day, and that's always the trade-off you're going to get. But, you know, the driving experience is excellent.
Yeah,
and
I can feel it.
You can feel it, and especially, and I will comment on the V6 especially.
So VS, and how's the fuel economy?
That was actually the first question my dad asked me as well. You know, what about the gas in this car? And you know, I would say it's excellent. Like if you take this car out, especially on a highway drive, like right now we're doing 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers, and we've only barely been out for like 10 minutes.
That's crazy.
You know, I've done longer highway drives and even put in eco mode, where it's even gone down to like 6.5. I mean, those are
like four-cylinder
economy, you know, compact class car numbers, really.
Yep.
So for those of you who may have had concerns about what the, you know, if you're taking a big fuel hit on the V6, I would say fear not. This car, even though it was built in 2016, actually comes equipped with a timing belt and not a timing chain.
Oh yeah?
Believe it or not. And so, you
That
know,
sucks.
that's going to be an expensive replacement. So something for potential owners to budget for if you're looking into getting the Accord. The final thing I would advise you on is the front headlights. The daytime running headlights on this car have actually had a reputation to burn out and burn out very often. And the way that the headlight assembly is built means that if the daytime running lights burn out, the whole thing's got to be replaced.
Oh.
However, what I would advise potential buyers is please do not spend your hard-earned money to buy a new one. A less known fact is that Honda in North America actually extended the warranty on the headlamps for 10 years.
Oh.
So you go to the dealer, and if that light burns out, and I had that same issue when before I purchased this car, is that the daytime running light on the left side was burnt out, not running, and because there was the extended warranty, you just take it to the nearest Honda dealer and they'll replace it for you. I specifically wanted the 6-cylinder, not the 4-cylinder, was that you get that extra power, and it's a traditional 6-speed automatic transmission, whereas the 4-cylinders go with the Honda CVT.
Yes, yes.
Right? So
Great point.
the acceleration and the power on this you're going to get is going to be much more smooth and much more linear, and you see it right here.
Yeah, that's really easy. You can tell the car does that easy.
Easy. It doesn't struggle. There's no turbo lag, and that's what I wanted.
It sounds better too.
I like the I like the throaty sound of it.
I like your purchase, Vyasan. And that is the review, guys. By the way, if you like this video, like it. If you don't like it, don't like it. And if you really like it, you should subscribe. And perhaps put a note in the comments if you had a similar ownership experience. YouTube is also a bit social. People do scroll down the comments to see what previous owners or perhaps their competitors had. And that is the review.